Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about wedges. We're going to talk a lot about bounces and grinds and why that's so important. Yeah, try to help you guys get a little more dialed from 120 and in, which is where we know all the scoring happens. So guys, first we're going to talk about wedge shafts and why that's so important. When we're looking at wedge shafts in here and fittings, I care predominantly about one thing and one thing only, and that's the player's ability to time the shaft. I want all shafts to be well timed, don't get me wrong, but for proper distance control to hit these things, and that's what we're trying to do with a wedge, is hit a very specific number, to hit it close, to give ourselves a chance to save par or make a birdie or whatever. I really care that you're able to time this shaft up well and hit the center of the club face. That's how you're going to get these very precise carry numbers and these very consistent spin rates and that sort of thing. Guys ask me a lot in wedge fittings, hey, do I need to play the same shafts in my wedges that I play in my irons or something a little different? What I would say about that is most players do favor in the wedges a shaft that is slightly heavier and maybe slightly softer in terms of flex. Help you focus on tempo a little bit, give you a little more feel that shaft load a little bit more through the swing. That being said, I know a lot of guys that have had a ton of success playing the exact same shaft from 4-iron down to lob wedge. Like I said, from my perspective, what really matters to me is how do we get the most consistent center contact, and then all that other stuff, launch and spin and carry distance, tends to largely take care of itself. The first question I get asked in every wedge fitting I do is, who's making the best wedges this year? What brand do you like? And the truth is, they're all making a great one. They all make one that feels awesome and spins the golf ball plenty and launches right and all this sort of thing. So really what I'm looking at is I'm trying to tick two boxes for you, the player. First and foremost, does the wedge look like you want it to look behind the golf ball at address? You guys know I'm big on aesthetics. Does it tick that box? Do you like the way it looks? And then after that, do they offer the bounces and grinds that we're looking for to suit your game and the turf interaction that you need based on how you deliver the club? Once we find one that you like the look of, we just make sure that they offer what you as the player need from a bounce and grind standpoint. And beyond that, I could really care less what brand we wind up in, because I know it's going to be a good one regardless of what it is. So probably the second most frequent question that I get asked in a wedge fitting is, what loft gap should I play? This is one where we're letting the launch monitor take over. You need a specialty pitching wedge, then we're looking at the 9-iron. How far does it go? And we're gapping everything off that. If you're just after 3 specialty wedges, we're looking at your pitching wedge. What's the static loft of the pitching wedge and how far does it go? And then we're building your gap wedge off of that. Guys, these are precision clubs. We are looking for specific numbers. It's not about how far can you hit it. It's about how consistently can you hit it that far. So what I would say is most guys these days start with a 50-degree gap wedge. Traditionally 50, 54, 58. I'm seeing a lot of guys now, myself included in this, that like to play a configuration that's 50-degree gap wedge, 55 sand wedge, and then 60 in the lob, so a 5-degree gap. That works well for a lot of guys. But again, ultimately, this is where the launch monitor does a lot of my job for me. How far does it go? Does it tick the boxes for the numbers that the player wants to see? And if it does, I could really care less if it says 52 or 50 on the bottom of the club. I just want it to go that distance that we need to see. So now we're talking about what I believe is the most important part of this category of golf clubs, the wedges. That's bounce and grind. And we were having a laugh here before Turner behind the camera hit the record button. He's like, Alan, you can't be you when you start talking about this stuff. You gotta give them the dumbed down version. Nobody cares about this stuff like you do. So I'm gonna try to keep this as short and sweet as I possibly can. No promises on that. Bounce and grind. There are general guidelines that sort of point us in the right direction based on the player's club delivery and the course conditions that they're typically playing. So you see a guy that's extremely steep with his club delivery, or particularly playing in relatively soft conditions all the time, that player typically is going to play a slightly higher bounce wedge. And then the exact opposite, you see a player with a shallower angle of attack or playing in very firm conditions. Those players typically are going to get along a little bit better with a lower bounce wedge. That's not always the case, and what we're going to do in a wedge fitting is really just take a super nerdy deep dive on how leading edge is interacting with the turf, for you, the player, to give you the best chance to get good compression, hit between the second and fifth groove on the club face, and then a sole design that offers the opportunity for you to hit the shots that you're trying to hit. Are you a guy that likes to manipulate the club face? Do you like to lay it open? Do you play more traditional techniques, square face shots? All these things are going to add up to point us in a certain direction to get you the proper sole design so that you can go out and hit the shots you need to hit greenside, so you can get that ball a little closer to the hole and maybe make a few more birdies or save a few pars that you otherwise wouldn't have. It does make a difference, and yeah, I would be stoked to let you guys see what I'm like in real life when we're actually in a wedge fitting, taking a deep dive on this stuff, because it certainly gets more intense than all of that. But ultimately, getting bouncing ground right, I really do believe it is sort of the key to this part of the bag, this club in the bag. And what I'm looking for is good quality contact, the turf interaction that the player is after, and then most importantly, a wedge that gives the player the ability to hit the shots that he's trying to hit with the wedge. And yeah, by looking at all that, we're able to come up with some pretty interesting bounce and grind combinations to give you the opportunity to go hit a little closer.